saying aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Opposed? These minutes have been approved as written. We will move to the minutes from the October 14th council meeting. Is there a motion to approve these minutes?
Move.
Move
Me.
by Mr. Minor.
Second.
And second by Mrs. Savetta. Are there any changes, amendments, or deletions to these minutes? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? These minutes have now been approved. Does any council member have any correspondence or announcements this evening? Okay. Moving to reports, starting with Mayor.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, everyone. I did report on this before, but I wanted to call attention to the multi-city firefighter exam we are having. It's a great opportunity for everyone, anyone interested in pursuing a career as a firefighter. The application is available on the city's website, so you can go there for more information. It's a great opportunity to test for 10 cities at one time. Everyone loves the town planner calendars that are mailed to homes, and this year residents will receive a customized calendar with pictures, events, and information tailored to our city. So we're looking forward to our own calendar coming out. Halloween is this Thursday. Trick or treat is from 6 to 8, so everybody be careful out there. Use caution while you're driving around, and hopefully it is a safe and dry 31st. And just as an early reminder, the annual lighting of City Hall will be on Sunday, December 1st, from 6 to 8. It's always a great event. The service department does a great job with the lights, so we're looking forward to seeing all of our families there. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Does anybody have anything for the mayor? Questions? Okay. Moving to the Director of Law, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no report this evening.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Murphy? Okay. Director of Finance, Mrs. Scully.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no report this evening.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mrs. Scully? We will now move to department directors. Is there anybody here this evening that would like to be heard?
Thank you. I'd just like to update on the construction jobs that are going on in the city. We have completed the road program. I know Mr. Ballestreas will report on that later in his report. We have a final walkthrough actually with the contractor tomorrow to pick up any of the items that are still left or on the punch list or any complaints that we've had. So other than that, it's basically done. Number two is the gas line work you see out here on Mayfield Road. The contractor has to be done, but with the gas main work by November 8th. That was dictated to them by Dominion, now called Enbridge. They'll be done with the restoration, they said, by November 18th. So they're as you see, they're putting a lot of the concrete back. They're still doing some mainline work on the south side of the road, and all the north side's going back. So in a few weeks, hopefully, we don't have to talk about them anymore. So, finally, the dye testing in the Marnell project. Dye testing did start. They did 15 houses last week. We originally had 107 on the list. We've had 7 people call and say they do not want their home re-dye tested, so we won't be going on those homes. So we've done 15. At that pace, it'll take probably another 6 weeks to get all the dye testing done as far as that detailed dye test. As far as the Marnell project goes, the geotech is done, the survey is done. We're working on base mapping. We are still collecting data. The flow meters are in the sewers. The rain gauge is on the roof of the school. We've had the county come out and TV a couple other spots where we had some confusion of what was going on with some of the lines that were going through the backyards. In fact, Chuck and my team were out there trying to find a buried manhole in the yard. We did find it finally, and just, it's progressing along, so I would say we're on schedule.
Perfect, thank you. Does any member of council have anything for Mr. Chuney? Thank you for your report. Are there any other directors that would like to be heard this evening? Okay. We will now move to reports of committees, commissions, and boards, beginning with the Building Committee. Mr. Medic.
Thank you, Madam President. The Building Committee has not met, but I will be scheduling a meeting with Mr. Mano and Mr. Braden before our next meeting, our City Council.
Thank you. Finance and Audit Committee.
Thank you,
Mr.
Madam
Meyer.
Chair. We have no report.
Legislative Committee, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. I will be scheduling a meeting to discuss several ordinances and requesting updating or verbiage changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Works and Service, Mr. Balestreo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A Public Works and Services Committee has been scheduled for this Friday, November 1st at 8 a.m. If all members of council could make it, that would be great for your input. The purpose of the meeting is to formulate questions and answers with regards to basement flooding that will be incorporated onto our website, so residents may have some insight as to what to do, who to call, and where responsibilities lie for repair work. A preliminary Q&A sheet was distributed to all members for input that I sent out from myself. And also, I may want to discuss whether at this time, we'll discuss it at the committee meeting to incorporate the city's current plans for rectifying flood issues over the next couple years. And if we want to also incorporate that onto our website. And then also I drove down and observed the workmanship on the following streets: Algiers, Alcester, Annandale, Suffield, Hansford, and Duval. You heard the report from Mr. Chuney that the streets are done. All the homes received new aprons, repaired sidewalk blocks, and all the streets received new curbs. I was very pleased with the looks of the streets. The asphalt work was excellent as well. So very proud of the companies that did the work this time around. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Balestreo? Recreation and Parks, Mr. Mano.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Short and sweet. We're pleased to announce that we sold out the murder mystery event scheduled for tomorrow, and tickets for the Evening with Santa scheduled for Friday, December 6th will go on sale in early November. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for Mr. Mano? Okay. We'll move to Safety and Transportation, Ms. Talbot.
Madam Chairman, no, there was no reason to meet, so I have no report.
Thank you. Board of Zoning Appeals, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. There was no meeting due to no applicants.
Thank you. And Planning Commission, Mr. Balestreo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Also no report. The commission did not meet last week.
Thank you. We will now proceed to the public portion of our meeting. Pursuant to City Code, each person will be allotted 5 minutes to speak with a maximum of 30 minutes allotted for the entire public portion. If you are here in connection with the agenda item, this is your opportunity to address council. If you would like to be heard this evening, please fill out a form at the public entrance. During the public portion, I will call each person wishing to speak to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record and speak clearly into the microphone. It is now 7:15, and I will open up the public portion. Mr. Chad Lichten.
I knew I was doing something.
I always forget that. Thank you, Mayor. I'm Chad Lichten. I'm starting the clock. I'm from 6295 Fairhaven Road. And today, I just want to talk about this light ordinance more because I've been told by most of you that it is impossible to have an ordinance protecting residents from terrible blinding light. And when I say blinding, I mean you can't look at it. It will blind you. So when they say it's impossible because maybe the prosecutor told you that it is impossible to enforce such an ordinance in a court of law, I know that we're a country that went to the moon, and it cannot be enforced, though, this ordinance. Paul, you're on your phone. Come on, listen, man. I need to be heard in this 5 minutes. All I get is 5 minutes. So
Woodson,
I
think
went
he's
to,
listening.
what?
He's listening.
Oh, okay, he's texting someone or something. Anyway, I went to Moreland Hills, where they do have this lighting ordinance, and they gave me the ordinance. And I've been reading it, and it's very extensive. So today, in the time I have, which is about less than 4 minutes, I just want to read what I can. I'm never going to get through these 3 pages, but I'm just going to start. The purpose of this section is to control the installation of exterior lighting fixtures to prevent light pollution in the forms of light trespass and glare, and to preserve, protect, and enhance the character of the village and the lawful nighttime use and enjoyment of property located within the village. Appropriate site lighting includes lights for signs and buildings shall be arranged so as to provide safety, utility, and security. Control light trespass and glare on adjacent properties and public roadways and streets. When I say glare, this is glare. What it does to my camera, it's even worse what it does to your eyes. That's glare. Glare is bad. Definitions. Terms related to the required exterior lighting standards contained in the section code shall have the following meanings. 1. Foot candle, a unit of illumination produced on a surface, all points of which are 1 foot from a uniform point of 1 candle. 2, full shielded or full cutoff type fixture, an outdoor lighting fixture that is shielded or constructed so that all light emitted is projected below a horizontal plane running through the lowest light emitting part of the fixture. Glare, direct light that causes unreasonable annoyance, discomfort, or loss in visual performance and visibility. Light trespass, artificial light in sufficient quantity that crosses over property boundaries, impacts surfaces, and produces a negative response in persons owning or using the violated space. Lumen, the unit measure of light flux or light output from lamps and luminaires. Luminaire, a complete lighting unit consisting of a light source and all necessary mechanical, electrical, and decorative parts. General requirements for all uses. 1. All lighting shall be controlled in such a way as not to project into the sky or any other residential property. This shall be accomplished by the use of fully shielded cut-off fixtures directing light fixtures downwards rather than upward, or shielding the light in such a way that the light-emitting portion of the fixture is not visible from normal viewing positions on adjacent properties or inside contiguous dwellings. Luminaires may not be so bright as to penetrate neighboring windows and project light onto interior walls. Where used for security purposes or to illuminate walkways, roadways, streets, equipment, yards, and parking lots, only fully shielded cut-off style light fixtures shall be utilized. All forms of flashing, rotating, moving, or digital lights shall be prohibited. The illumination level at the property line of a parcel adjacent to a residence shall not exceed 0-foot candles attributable to artificial light. And if you notice, this is many, many foot candles 100 feet from the source, deep into our house. Deep into our house, we can read a book easily by the light from 100 feet in front of our property. I only have about 30 seconds. I have 2 more pages to read, and there's no way I'm going to get through it. But there's a lot of good stuff in here. And if you're interested, I'll email all of you. I emailed Kathy all this. I hope you consider it because there's got to be a reason Moreland Hills takes it seriously. And I don't think us as a community of human beings should be any different than Moreland Hills in this respect. No one should have to suffer in their own home. No one should be targeted, and you don't understand what it's like because you don't have a neighbor that does it to you. And if you did, you would hate it. You would wish it to be gone. You would wish to just go on with your life. Thank you.
Mr. Licton, if you want to leave the copy for our clerk, Ms. Lloyd, she can get it to all of us.
Can we copy it afterwards?
Yes.
Okay, because I like one
she
too.
has email. She
I
can-
literally went to Moreland Hills to get this.
Okay.
Yeah. And I didn't mean this to fall. That was an accident.
Ms. Talbin will get it to all of us. Thank you.
Okay, I'll stay to the end. Okay, thank you, Diane.
Is there anyone else that would like to be heard tonight? No? Okay. It is 7:20. I will close the public portion. Resolution number 2024-54, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2024-54, a resolution confirming the appointment of Matt Medic to the Council of the City of Mayfield Heights pursuant to Article 4, Section 3 of the Charter of the City of Mayfield Heights, and ratifying all actions taken by the mayor and council to confirm said appointment and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Mano
Second.
and second by Mr. Minor. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Mr. Medic.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes?
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved?
Moved by Mrs. Sabata and second by Ms. Talbot. All members of council should have received a memo from our law director explaining the resolution. This resolution is to confirm the appointment of Mr. Matt Medic to the vacant council position for Mr. DeJohn. Are there any questions or comments from council? Okay. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Medic.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes.
We're glad you're
This resolution has been approved and you are official again. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Resolution number 2024-55, Mr. Murphy.
First, I'd like to clarify, he has been official.
Well, he's official. I said
once.
again.
Oh, again, okay, I missed that.
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 2024-55, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter an amendment to the agreement with Gloss Pile, Schomer Burns, and DeHaven, Inc., DBA GPD Group, to compensate that company for professional engineering services provided to deal with the flooding event on August 17, 2024, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Minor and second by Mrs. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Medic.
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestrea and second by Mr. Mano. All members of council should have received the memo from Mr. Murphy explaining why this resolution has been changed. The GPD contract has been reduced by $5,500. This amount is for the professional engineering services that dealt with the flooding event on August 17, 2024. Are there any questions or comments from council? Okay. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mr. Medic.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Resolution 2024-55 has been approved. Resolution number 2024-56, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2024-56, a resolution authorizing change order number 1 with TC Construction Company for the 2024 sidewalk program, authorizing the closeout of said contract and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Mano
Second.
and second by Mr. Medic. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Minor,
Yes.
Mr. Medic,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mr. Balestria,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Ms. Tobin,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Belestrea.
Second.
Second by Mr. Medic. This was a change order to the contract for an additional amount not to exceed $1,026.50. This is the final payment portion of our sidewalk program. Is there any council questions at all? Nope. Okay. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Ms. Tobin,
Yes.
Mr. Minor,
Yes.
Mr. Medic,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, this resolution has been approved. We'll now move to resolution number 2024-57, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2024-57, a resolution authorizing change order number 1 with A&J Cement Company for the 2024 Concrete Road Program, authorizing the closeout of said contract and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mrs. Sabetta and second by Mr. Mano. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. Medic,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Ms. Tobin,
Yes.
Mr. Minor,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Balestrea and second by Mrs. Sabetta. This is a resolution pertaining to a change order contract with A&J Cement Company for an additional amount not to exceed $1,014.60. This was to perform additional concrete work and for the installation of the catch basins not in the original bid specifications. Does any member of council have any questions about this one? Okay. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Medic,
Yes.
Mr. Minor,
Yes.
Ms. Tobin,
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Resolution number 2024-57 has been adopted. Moving to resolution number 2024-58, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution number 2024-58, a resolution authorizing change order number 1 with CA Agresta Construction Company for the Drayton Drive emergency repair, authorizing the closeout of said contract and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Balestrea,
Second.
second by Mr. Minor. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Ms. Tobin,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mr. Minor,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mr. Medic,
Yes.
Mr. Balestria,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Mano
Second.
and second by Mr. Minor. This resolution is a change order for CA Agresta Construction Company regarding an additional amount not to exceed $1,833. This is for the construction company to remove and replace parts of a sidewalk that were not contained in the original specifications. Is there any questions or comments from council? Ms.
I
Talbot?
have a question. One of the things that was taken off was seeding and mulching grass. I didn't know if that might come back later, if they're not doing that at all, because they replace sidewalks. So I'm just imagining that there needs to be something with grass. And so I don't know if we can't do it now and it'll come back later, or we didn't need it at all. So that just seemed odd to me.
Mr. Chuney or Mr. Brunello? If either of you.
I don't have an answer for that, but I'll look it up. I mean, we will do something for the homeowner. We can't leave it bare ground, yeah. Because, the water main broke and we had to do the curb and the drive apron and then additional sidewalk, so.
Sure.
I mean, Chuck said we could do it if we had to, but I think it should be part of this contract. I don't know. You said it was taken off?
Yes, it's decreased plan items, is topsoil, seeding, and mulching. So when I saw that, but I saw we were
okay.
doing
All right, it's
sidewalk.
decreased. We had too much quantity in there. It's just, you estimate the quantities ahead of time and they bid on it.
Okay.
And then we go out and measure it and pay him for exactly what he's done.
Okay.
So that's what that is.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that.
Thank you. All right, roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Ms. Tolbin.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes?
Mr. Medic.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. This resolution has been approved. Resolution number 2024-59, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution number 2024-59, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement known as the Euclid Creek Watershed Partnership Agreement, appropriating funds to comply with said agreement and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved?
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta,
Second.
second by Mr. Minor. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. Medic.
Yes.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Ms. Tolbin.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestreo
Second.
and second by Mr. Medic. Everyone should have received the memorandum of understanding between the Soil and Water Conservation District and the Euclid Creek Watershed Council. We are part of the communities that make up the Euclid Creek Watershed Council, and this resolution determines that we will continue the partnership agreement with Euclid Creek Watershed and appropriating the funds to comply with this agreement. Does any member of council have any questions? Okay. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes?
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Ms. Tolbin.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. Medic.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. This resolution has been approved. So at this time, I would like to make a motion to remove resolution number 2024-44 from the table and place it on tonight's agenda. I will state that in our original agenda, it was 2023-44, so there was a typo. But the correct resolution is 2024-44. Do I have a motion to remove it from the table?
I move to remove from tabling.
Moved by Ms. Telvin and
Second.
second by Ms. Sabetta. Roll call on the motion.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. Medic.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes?
Ms. Tolbin.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Okay. Mr. Murphy, resolution number 2024-44.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 2024-44, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an amendment to the agreement with Gloss Pile, Schomer, Burns, and DeHaven, Inc., DBA GPD Group, to provide professional engineering services to deal with the flooding event on August 17, 2024, and declaring an emergency. First reading. Yes. Yes.
Is there a motion to approve?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Medic
Second.
and second by Mr. Balestreo. All members of council should have received the memo from Mr. Murphy suggesting that we remove this resolution from the table and defeat it, because the new resolution that we just passed this evening will reflect the new changes to the decrease in the contract. So the $5,500 contract that we approved tonight, this particular resolution, I believe, was close to $10,000. So there's been a decrease. Does any member have any questions about this at all? Okay. So roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Medic.
Yes.
Mr. Minor,
I was just going to mention that my advice was to defeat
defeat
this
Thank you.
resolution.
That's okay.
I may change that, no.
Mr. Cheney may like to see it approved, but
Minor,
No.
Ms. Tobin,
No.
Mr. Belistrea.
No.
Mr. Mano,
No.
Mrs. Sabetta,
No.
Mrs. Snyder.
No. Okay. So this motion has been carried,
defeated.
or defeated, I'm sorry. All right, we will now move to ordinances, beginning with ordinance 2024-22.
Resolution, or ordinance 2024-22, an emergency ordinance enacted by the City of Mayfield Heights, Cuyahoga County, Ohio, hereinafter referred to as the municipality, in the matter of the resurfacing of Ridgebury Boulevard and requesting the cooperation of the County of Cuyahoga, Ohio, hereinafter referred to as the county, in assisting to finance said improvement. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved?
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, and second
Second.
by Mr. Minor. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Ms. Tobin,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mr. Minor,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mr. Medic,
Yes.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes, is there a motion to approve?
No.
Moved by Mr. Mano,
Second.
and second by Mr. Minor. There was a letter in your packet from the Cuyahoga County Council approving a resurfacing project on Ridgebury. It appears that the county will contribute 50% of the cost of the construction, maximum not to exceed $250,000. The total estimated construction cost for the resurfacing would be $1,223,400. This would be resurfacing south side only from Iroquois Avenue to Orchard Heights Drive. Mr. Mano.
I have a question. I'm a little confused. They just completed the north side.
Right.
Now, they're going to tear that up or damage that to do
No.
the south side. That makes no sense.
Mr. Cheney.
So the north side was done by Mayfield Village last year, and they couldn't spend money in our town, so they couldn't cross the center line. Now, we're going to go back to the center line and do our half of the road, is
There
what
was
it is.
no way to coordinate that to get both sides done at the same time.
We tried. They got the money from the county earlier than we did, and it was burning a hole in their pocket. They had to spend it. They didn't want to wait. So, we are coordinating ours with Lyndhurst, I'm sorry, with Highland Heights, so we're going to be doing our section with their section.
Are we going to be held harmless in case there's damage on the other side, or are we going to be responsible for repairing it?
Well, just like we would if. Correct me, Paul, if I'm wrong, but just like we would in any other case, if it was negligence, we would hold the contractor responsible for if there was any negligent work done, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Right. We would specify them to saw cut it right down the center line and just work on our side. And if they damage something on that side, it's going to be on them. Yeah. That would be in the bid specs.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Cheney. Are there any other questions for council?
I'm sure.
Mr. Belstrea.
I guess for the finance director, Dana, does this count against the road program, or do we have a second line item for when we have the cost sharing for county-type roads?
No, this would come out of the road program fund, so this is something that I'm looking at in preparing the 25 budget, and if we have fund balance to pull from, or if Mr. Murphy needs to get creative with the legislation of how we're foregoing the 25 road program for the Marno and flooding issues, if we have to allocate a portion of it to that fund to cover some of these projects.
That was going to be my next question, but, okay. Thank you.
Are there any other further questions? All right. Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Balestrea.
Yes.
Ms. Tobin,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes.
Mr. Medic,
Yes.
Mr. Minor,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. This ordinance has been approved. Moving to ordinance number 2024-23, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ordinance number 2024-23, an ordinance continuing a moratorium on the operation of any bed and breakfast establishments in the city, as well as any short-term rentals in the city, and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Mano
Second?
and second by Mrs. Sabato. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Minor,
Yes.
Mr. Medic,
Yes.
Mr. Mano,
Yes.
Mr. Balestria,
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta,
Yes?
Ms. Tolbin,
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Question?
Wait till we get to discussion.
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Balestria
Second.
and second by Mr. Mano. This ordinance is extending the moratorium on short-term rentals in the city. This was put in place several years ago. No firm decision has been reported by our law director on current laws regarding these short-term rentals. It is his recommendation that this moratorium be extended until June 30th, 2025. So I was going to look to you, Mr. Murphy, if you could just give this current council a little recap of what, over the year, why this was done and what's going on statewide, because that, just bring them up to speed, and then we'll get to your
That was-
question.
That was it.
That was it? Oh.
That was it. He probably anticipated that anyway.
Yeah, as President Snyder indicated, this has been a moratorium in the city for several years. There are a number of considerations regarding short-term rentals as well as Airbnb rentals and vacation rentals. I always get that wrong. VRBO rentals. Council wants to make sure that the legislation addresses all of the concerns which have not been meted out yet. In addition, there is legislation that was pending and then it expired, but there is a move afoot to reintroduce it to make it on a statewide level regarding the legislation regarding short-term rentals. If that's the case, then the city would have to address its legislation depending on what the state came up with. So council has always said, well, we're not going to do anything until the state figures out what they're going to do. So we're going to just put a moratorium so that nobody comes into the city and attempts to do a short-term rental such as Airbnb, because right now it's not permitted in the city, and it'll be up to council to determine what and how, excuse me, how it may be permitted in the future.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Ms. Talbin.
How do we communicate this so that people know? Because we would not know if somebody has done this.
Building department knows, and they're the ones who enforce the short-term rental legislation, so
How do they know?
how do they know?
How do they know?
They enforce all of the ordinances. They're
No, how
aware-
do they know that somebody's violating it?
Residents call.
Yeah.
Residents will make us aware of it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I was just curious. I met somebody while I was campaigning and found out that they had rented. I go, oh, just so you know, tell the person that did it, you're not allowed to do this.
Yeah, there were a number of rentals, and I'm thinking this, I'm not even sure how long this moratorium has been in. Yeah, but there were a number of and a number of complaints. And, there's a lot of different facets to look at, and I'll just explain. One is, Mayfield Heights has a community with small homes that are very close to each other. And if you have, 10 people roll in with 10 cars and, they're there for a Browns weekend, there could be a problem. So the city wants to address that at some point.
Okay. It might be nice to put something in the newsletter too, just to let residents know. Because I bet you it's happening, we just don't know. And it's not 10 people. It's
Okay. Anything further from council? Mr. Balestria?
Yeah, Mr. Murphy, what was the time? I know prior to, it used to be 6 months, every 6 months. Is there a time on this ordinance, or can we extend it to a year so we don't have to keep coming back to it?
It has been every 6 months because it was my understanding council wanted to look at it and, not make it too far into the future. This is really 7, 8 months, I guess, because nobody introduced the moratorium request for the second half of 2024. It expired June 30th, 2024. So right now, there is no moratorium.
Uh-oh.
That's a simple way to say.
Would anybody
This way,
object?
instead of taking it to the end of the year, which would have been one way to do it, I just determined it should be, let's make it, the next 6 months to give council an opportunity to sit down and decide what, if anything,
Well,
it
it's-
wanted to do.
yeah.
If you wanted to make it December 31st, you can do that too.
Well, this has gone on for a number of years already.
Correct.
And the state's been sitting on it, and we've been going back and forth. So we don't have this issue in the future. Would anybody oppose to just making it an annual moratorium instead of 6 months, is my
Yeah.
question.
This is 8 months. It's not that far off from an annual.
Well, then you would make it until the end of December 2025.
Then you got 14 months.
Then we'd have 14 months, and then you could do it on an
You
annual.
you can always address it earlier and, come up with legislation. But 6 months is not unreasonable, thank you. A year
not,
may be.
It's not unreasonable, it's just that I don't want to come to a situation where we forget and no one brings it to the attention of council. This way, if it's on an annual basis, then it's kind of in the loop.
That's exactly what happened with regard to the one that expired in June. Nobody
That's my point,
requested that it be extended, so. But if you want to make it longer, it's up to council. But a 14-month moratorium may be a little.
Well, the state's been sitting on it, and then you said they're just now
Oh, no,
thinking
it
about putting it
expired.
back on.
Once the new legislature came in,
Then we
in
could always
state
re-
law, everything drops
Then we
off
can
the
review it.
table.
I would just assume,
Is there a motion to make this, this resolution longer, ordinance?
yes, that would be
Is that
my,
what you're
that would be my motion to make it expire December 31st of 2025.
Do I have a second to extend it to December 31st of 2025? Second by Mr. Mano. So now I need a roll call on the motion to change this ordinance with an extension until December 31st of 2025.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Mr. Medic.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes?
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Now I need a roll call on the motion to approve as amended.
You need a motion.
I just did. Yeah.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes?
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Quick question, did somebody make the motion?
No.
Okay.
Well, actually, Mr. Balestria made a motion to change it.
To amend.
And then
To
to
amend
amend
it.
it. And there was a second.
Yes.
And now a motion to approve as amended. Yeah, that
So-
was what I just did.
Now
And
we're
then a
voting on
motion
it.
to approve. I still,
Nobody did the motion to.
Yeah, nobody made the motion to approve as amended. That's all I was saying. So should I make that motion so we can do a roll call now? Okay, so I make a motion to
Mr.
approve as
Minor
amended.
makes- Okay, a second. Mr. Mano,
Okay.
okay.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes?
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Balestria.
Yes.
Ms. Tobin.
Yes.
Mr. Minor.
Yes.
Mr. Medic.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes. Ordinance 2024-23 has been approved as amended. There are no motions this evening. Is there any new business or questions or comments from council? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Sabetta
Second.
and second by Mr. Minor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you, everyone. We are now adjourned.